Thanks for joining us. I'm Alexandra Lewis. This week, another ruling in the case of the gunman behind the 2015 Planned Parenthood shooting.
Once again, the judges found Robert Deere incompetent to stand trial. 9 News reporter Ria Joss starts us off. Ria, 10 years of no resolution for these victims, and now it may never come.
Yeah, resolution might look like this whole thing being over in terms of the court hearings. But what's different in this case is that there's just more evidence in favor of his incompetency. And this February, a judge ordered forced medication so he could stand trial. The judge said it was involuntarily and forcibly if necessary, and that didn't even work. I spoke with a defense attorney about what this means for the future of this case. Nearly 10 years after the deadly attack at a Planned Parenthood in Colorado Springs, prosecutors have been trying to get the gunman in front of a jury.
The state ended up conceding the fact that he's never going to be restored to competency.
Criminal defense attorney David Lane has been following this case through it all.
The feds picked up the case, and now the feds are basically in the same boat. It's been 10 years.
Robert Deere ruled incompetent to stand trial again and again. This week, a federal judge said he remains incompetent. An evaluator now saying he's unlikely to be restored to competency in the foreseeable future.
They forcibly medicated him against his will, and it still didn't restore him to competency.
Prosecutors are now left with little choice.
Even if he's restored to competency, he probably has a great insanity defense, which will result in his civil commitment forever. If he's not restored to competency, that will result in his civil commitment forever.
Typically, when someone can't be restored, charges are dropped and civil commitment begins. But in this case,
the prosecutors just keep dragging it on and on and on. It's been 10 years. There will not be justice.
At this latest hearing, prosecutors said they are keeping the indictment alive. Lane argues that optics are taking the lead.
They don't want to drop the criminal case because it's high profile and they care about what the media says. And at some point, they're going to just have to dismiss the case.
Lane says it will be up to the judge to end this once and for all.
And he's going to say, look, this is on my docket. The guy's not competent. Nobody's saying he's going to be competent. DOJ, you're not saying he's going to be competent. I'm dismissing this case.
Until then, more evaluations and more hearings. But Lane says he can only see one outcome.
It's going to end with him dying of natural causes in a mental hospital.
Robert Deere was diagnosed with a delusional disorder back in 2015 after his arrest. He's currently being held at the U.S. Medical Center for Federal Prisoners in Missouri, and future competency proceedings will be closed to the public. Prosecutors say they will proceed with the case if he's ever restored. Ria Joss, 9 News.
6 people are hurt tonight after a major crash on I-25 southbound at Arapahoe Road. Right now, the road is closed at Orchard, and there is a massive backup. Here's a live look from our photographer in that area. The crash initially happened about 7 o'clock. South Metro Fire hasn't said how many cars are involved or what may have caused this crash, but they did say Hazmat is responding for a fuel leak. While they're responding to the crash, South Metro said there was a separate semi-truck that caught fire in the northbound lanes in that same area. They've got the fire under control now, but the far right lanes are still blocked. Greenwood Village police say the southbound lanes will be closed for at least another hour or 2.
Weather-wise, it was a beautiful end to our Thursday. We caught the sunset fading out on CSU's campus. Looking ahead to a warm weekend. Meteorologist Chris Bianchi, today seemed like the perfect balance between, say, light and darkness.
Wow, it felt kind of a bit like an equinox, didn't it?
Yeah, that's what it felt like to me.
Yeah, it was
very poetic.
Spot on. Well put, Kyle. It was indeed the equinox for most of the mid-latitudes of the northern hemisphere, including right here in Colorado. So what is the equinox? Man, we had exactly 12 hours of daylight today, and you might be wondering, wait, wasn't that back on Monday with the autumnal equinox? Well, because of the tilt of the Earth, because of the fact that we're round, that the Earth is round, right? We do have a little bend to the Earth, and that creates a refraction point. Being the sun is actually a slight optical illusion. Light travels, and the result is that we actually get a little bit more sunlight than you think. But we have the exact 12 hours of daylight today. It is nighttime now, though. Burlington looking clear. Safe for us here in Fort Collins. 40s, 50s, Eastern Plains, 40s, 50s in the mountains. Today we topped out in the 70s, Eastern Plains. 60s and 70s in the high country. Radar quiet right now, and tonight it'll stay quiet for us with lows dropping into the upper 40s. Tomorrow, though, we warm up into the 80s, and then some mountain storms return for us this weekend. I'll tell you about those and more about the equinox coming up in a few minutes.
Right now, there's a shelter in place for part of Clear Creek County along Highway 103. The sheriff's office says they're looking for a man they say has been coming onto people's property armed with a gun and claiming to be from the Forest Service.
Hi. Do you need help?
Yeah, Forest Service.
The sheriff's office says they've gotten at least 3 reports of this masked man trespassing on private properties near Highway 103. In this case, he told the homeowner he was with the U.S. Forest Service, then disconnected the camera. The Forest Service says he is not associated with them. Investigators say the man may have been driving a white Ford Escape SUV with no plates. They say he's been seen on several properties in Idaho Springs wearing tactical gear and carrying a gun. At one point, he was seen loading and cocking the gun. The sheriff's office also says he stole $2,000 worth of items from one property and caused around $2,000 worth of damage. Within the last hour or so, the sheriff's office says they spotted the man. They chased him down Highway 103. Then he crashed. He got out, ran from the car. They're still searching for him right now. So they say if you do see him, call 911. Tonight, one person is dead after a shootout with Federal Heights police. 2 other people, including an officer, were hurt.
9 News reporter Shalima Maharaj takes us to Federal Heights, where it started as a call about a domestic disturbance.
Yeah, this happened after 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and that domestic disturbance call is what brought police out here in the first place. Police say that when they got there, that they tried to disrupt an assault. They say that 3 people were inside of a car and the driver rammed into their patrol vehicle. Then they say someone inside the car started shooting, and officers shot back. 2 of the 3 people in the car were taken to the hospital where one of them died. An officer came away with minor injuries, and Federal Heights police didn't say whether they were shot. Now, this investigation has had Federal Boulevard closed, a large section of it stretching from West 88th all the way up to West 92nd. That's about a half-mile stretch. So for a lot of the people who live here and for the people who are simply trying to travel through, it's been frustrating and concerning on a number of levels. In Federal Heights, Shalima Maharaj, 9 News.
The city of Denver has until the end of next month to figure out whether it is going to keep or get rid of its car tracking flock cameras. Police will tell you they're crucial in solving crimes. Privacy advocates say they're creating a mass surveillance system for the government. The cameras can track any car throughout the city. They're so controversial, the mayor's created a surveillance technology task force to help guide the city through balancing privacy and public safety. The city's contract with Flock, the operator, runs out in about a month. There are a variety of views represented on this task force.
It's impacted almost every level of our investigations, everything from homicides to auto theft, missing persons, and just a tremendous amount of positive impact we've seen.
We need to let this contract expire, let the contracts or the cameras take a break from doing their thing, and make some policy, and then figure out what we're going to do after that.
Council members say that they want to see guidelines created, not only for the flock cameras, but for surveillance technologies more broadly. The city of Denver has already taken steps to keep the system off limits to immigration agents. That's in order to comply with state law.
Former FBI Director James Comey has been charged with making a false statement and obstruction.
Criminal case was filed just days after President Donald Trump put public pressure on prosecutors to charge Comey with a crime. And Trump replaced a prosecutor unwilling to do it with one who is willing to prosecute Comey. 9 News anchor Phil Lipoff joins us now. And Phil, the president brought in his former personal attorney, who happens to be from Colorado.
Right. She is from Colorado. This isn't the first time he's done that. We've seen it done before. This time, Lindsay Halligan is 36 years old. She grew up, as you mentioned, Kyle, in Broomfield, went to Holy Family, then Regis, and in her 20s competed in Miss Colorado twice, once as a finalist. Though she has never prosecuted a federal case, her current role is U.S. Attorney in the Eastern District of Virginia. The president installed her after her predecessor refused to pursue these very charges. Today's indictment makes James Comey the first former senior government official to face prosecution in connection with the Russian interference investigation into the 2016 election. He faces 2 charges, making a false statement and obstruction of a congressional proceeding. Trump posted on Truth Social celebrating the indictment, saying in all caps, "Justice in America." Comey posted video response on Instagram.
My family and I have known for years that there are costs to standing up to Donald Trump, but we couldn't imagine ourselves living any other way. We will not live on our knees, and you shouldn't either. Somebody that I love dearly recently said that fear is the tool of a tyrant, and she's right. But I'm not afraid, and I hope you're not either.
The charges stem from testimony Comey gave before the Senate Judiciary Committee back in 2020. The statute of limitations for these particular charges were set to expire Tuesday. If he is convicted, the former FBI director could face up to 5 years in prison. Phil Lipoff, 9 News.
For the first time, the man accused of shooting into a TV station in Sacramento, California, is talking publicly. Annabelle Hernandez-Santana is facing federal and state charges, including interfering with a radio communication system. No one was injured when he shot into the ABC 10 building in Sacramento last week. That happens to be one of our Techno sister stations. Prosecutors say that notes found in his home and vehicle show a political motive. He refused to talk about that, simply saying that he's not a violent man.
I'm devoted to this country. I love this country.
Do you want to shed any light on those documents that they found regarding some of your political beliefs?
No comment.
Federal prosecutors said today that he showed concerning behavior in the days before the shooting. He allegedly turned up at an elementary school and asked to read to the kids. Prosecutors say that frightened the school staff.
Federal authorities say the gunman who opened fire on an ICE facility in Dallas hated the U.S. government and wanted to incite terror by killing federal agents. Officials say they found handwritten notes at the home of the suspect who shot 3 ICE detainees. 1 died. The other 2 were critically wounded. No ICE officials were hurt in the shooting. The FBI says the suspect, who died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound, was targeting ICE personnel and was hoping not to harm detainees. Officials also confirmed he acted alone and legally purchased the rifle used in the shooting.
Clear Creek County Sheriff Matt Harris is going to step down nearly 2 years after he was first appointed to that role. The sheriff's office announced today he's leaving for another job in law enforcement. He was appointed in December of 2023. At the time, that agency was under heavy scrutiny for the shooting death of Christian Glass. Harris is expected to leave the force at the end of October. He's recommended to the county commissioners that Under Sheriff Matt Brown take over through the 2026 election.